I know, 5:27.
Buddy.
That's the mayor's. That's the mayor's article. I could.
If you want to.
To be official.
Yeah.
This person is. Yeah, okay. One more minute.
Never killing their weight yet.
Yes. The April 27th meeting of the North Platte Planning Commission will come to order. Roll call.
Davies,
Here.
Winder,
Here.
Fudge,
Here.
Bain,
Here.
Weber,
Here.
McGann,
Here.
Jett,
Here.
Forbes,
Here.
and Worrell.
Here.
We do have a quorum present.
Thank you. And I would like to welcome Angie Forbes. Angie, welcome to the Planning Commission. And Emily Worrell, welcome to the Planning Commission. We're looking forward to working with you. Current copy of the Open Meetings Act of Nebraska is posted at the back of the council chambers. I assume you have had time to read the minutes from our March 23rd meeting and from the work session on April 19. Are there any additions or corrections? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
I move to approve the minutes from the meeting held on March 23rd and the work session held on April 19th.
Second?
Second.
Mr. Winder moved, Mr. Davies seconded. Roll call vote.
Winder,
Yes.
Fudge,
Yes.
Bain,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
McGann,
Yes.
Jett,
Yes.
Forbes,
Yes.
Whirl,
Yes.
and Davies.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried.
Thank you. Item number 3 is a public hearing on file number CU 21-008 to discuss and consider action on an application by Henrietta Boots, owner, and Douglas and Charla Willard, purchaser, for a conditional use permit to allow living quarters situated in an office or business building in a B2 Highway Commercial District located at 4022 South Highway 83 on property described as the South 510 feet, Tract B, part of Swartzlander subdivision, North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska. Judy?
There is one correction. It's application number CU 21011. Our mistake, sorry, that was on the agenda earlier.
Okay.
It should have been on your agenda on the table. So
It is, but I was using the one I printed from home. Sorry. My mistake.
So on your staff summary, you should have received a copy of the staff summary, also a location map that kind of gives you an aerial photo, and then a general location map with the zoning where the site is proposed. The applicant does state on the attached justification they are planning to build a 60 by 100 steel building to store and repair hay harvesting equipment owned by their business, Willard Hay LLC. The steel building would be located on the northeast corner of the property. They would attach a 60 by 60 living quarters. Traffic should not increase because the structure is limited to the owner's own business. According to the North Platte City Code of Ordinances, Chapter 156, Section 156-197A5, apartments or living quarters situated in an office or business building may be allowed subject to approval of a conditional use permit. Dave Hahn, City Building Inspector, states the size of the structure may require a sprinkler system or possible design by an architect, depending on the size. These issues will be discussed during the building permitting process. Brent Birkland, City Engineer, states that the owners have been made aware that there will be an assessed cost to the property for water and sewer, and the access easement will be maintained by the property owner, not the City of North Platte. Planning staff has no objections to the conditional use if all elements of the application are complied with. And the applicant is in the audience if you have any questions.
Okay, this is a public hearing, and so I would invite anyone in the audience who wishes to testify on this to come to the podium, identify yourself, and give your address, and we will listen to what you have to say. Okay. I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Madam Chairman, I'd move to close the public hearing.
Second?
Second.
Moved by Fudge, seconded by Jett, to close the public hearing. Roll call vote.
Fudge,
Yes.
Bain,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
McGann,
Yes.
Jett,
Yes.
Forbes,
Yes.
Whirl,
Yes.
Davies,
Yes.
and Winder.
Yes.
Okay, and again, the public hearing is closed. Planning Commission members can speak amongst themselves, but we do not ask for any participation from the audience.
Any questions or? Okay, I would entertain a motion, and then, once we have the motion in a second, then if we can still ask questions or discuss before we take the vote.
I'll do the motion. A motion to approve. I move that we find the request for a conditional use permit to allow living quarters situated in an office or commercial building in a B2 highway commercial district located at 4022 South Highway 83. Meets the minimum standards stated in the North Platte Code of Ordinances, Section 156.322, and approve and grant that the conditional use permit requested with the conditions that all elements of the application are complied with.
Gotta keep reading. And with,
Based on the following factual findings, the use shall conform to all applicable ordinances, laws, and regulations of any governmental jurisdiction. The use shall have adequate water, sewer, and drainage facilities, Ingress and egress shall be so designed as to minimize traffic congestion in the public streets. The use shall in all other respects conform to the applicable regulations of the district in which it is located. The use shall be in harmony with the character of the area and the most appropriate use of the land.
And is there a second?
I'll second it. I yield to Mr. Weber.
Motion by Bain, seconded by Weber. Is there any discussion? Roll call vote?
Bain,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
McGann,
Yes.
Jett,
Yes.
Forbes,
Yes.
Whirl,
Yes.
Davies,
Yes.
Winder,
Yes.
Fudge.
Yes.
Okay, this item will go to the city council on May 18th.
Okay. Item number 4 is also a public hearing to discuss and consider action on a resolution regarding the North Platte Mall Rehabilitation Redevelopment Plan on property described as Tract 1, that portion of lots 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, and 10, Sigelin and Wable's subdivision, and a portion of vacated alley between said lots 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, and 10, North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska. Tract 2, all of Sigelin and Wable's subdivision, including vacated South Pine Street, vacated K and L Streets, and vacated alley, North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska. And Tract 3, Block 4, South Platte Business Park, North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, pursuant to Nebraska Community Development Law. Judy?
Okay, and you should have all received a copy of the review comments. Attached to that also is a resolution that we are looking at possibly passing. And the exhibits attached is, to that resolution, is the legal description of the property and the redevelopment plan that was presented. The City Planning Commission's responsibility in the redevelopment process is to take public comment on whether the real estate described is in conformance with the City of North Platte comprehensive plan and if the project meets or will meet subdivision and zoning regulations and is an overall fit for development of the city. Following statements should be considered and confirmed. The property as presented is located in an area that has been declared blighted and substandard. The property is in conformance with the current City of North Platte comprehensive plan. The project meets or will meet subdivision and zoning regulations. The development of the property to its full potential is in the best interest of the City of North Platte and the entire region. The area involved in the North Platte Mall Rehabilitation Redevelopment Project was determined to be blighted and substandard in November 1999 by the North Platte City Council as part of a larger blight study. A copy of the North Platte Mall Rehabilitation Redevelopment Plan is attached for your review. On March 23, 2021, the City of North Platte Planning Commission made a recommendation to approve a change in zone from B1 and B2 to a PB2, which is a planned business district. According to the City of North Platte Code of Ordinances, Chapter 156, Section 156.335 states that the purpose of the planned district shall be to permit and regulate the uses permitted under this chapter in the equivalent district, and to further provide for and encourage the flexibility and location of buildings, structures, roads, drives, variations in yards, and open spaces subsequent to approval by the Planning Commission, Mayor, and City Council. It is the intent to allow the development of tracts of land to their fullest extent, observing the general intent and spirit of this zoning chapter. The North Platte City Council approved the zone change on first reading on April 6th, 2021, and on second reading on April 20th, 2021, with final approval anticipated for May 4th, 2021. As part of the approved rezoning, the applicant also provided the city with a master plan for the area. As stated in the master plan, the redevelopment of the Platte River Mall will consist of reconstruction and reconfiguration of parking lot to the west, south, and southeast of the mall. Parking areas to the north and east will remain with some minor repairs and parking stall striping. The Verizon store on the northwest portion will also remain. The mall building will remain with renovations, and the applicants are planning to construct a mixed-use building on proposed Lot 9. The individual lots will be accessed using shared access easements. There will be shared parking available for the entire site. The property owners intend to construct new signs for the main entrance and for individual lots. Additional variances to City Code of Ordinances will include shared infrastructure improvements and shared landscaping. Planning staff recommends approval of the North Platte Mall Rehabilitation Redevelopment Plan and passage of the attached resolution. The redevelopment plan is in conformance with the North Platte, Nebraska Comprehensive Plan 2011 and meets or will meet with approved rezoning the current City of North Platte subdivision and zoning regulations. The property is located in the hub of the commercial district of North Platte and will be a great redevelopment project for the community. Dewey Street is not only a state highway, but also a major thoroughfare connecting the entire community from north to south. Phillip Avenue is also a high-volume street, so the development will not be a detriment due to any increase in traffic. Allowing the applicants the ability to rezone to a planned unit development provides them with the ability to develop both residential and commercial structures on the site. Providing apartments allows for a site with walkability, which is an asset to growing communities. This is a good fit for the area and growth and development of North Platte. The applicant is in the audience if you would like to speak with him.
This is a public hearing, so if anyone wishes to address us, you need to come to the podium, state your name and your address, and then whatever you want to say.
I did come all the way from Lincoln. Hi, Mike Works, Lincoln, Nebraska. I don't want to waste your time. Many of you already heard what we're planning to do out there at the mall. I know there's 2 new people on the committee today, so if we wanted to do a little bit of that, but I'd just be happy to answer questions if you had any in the meantime. Even better.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Does anyone else wish to speak?
Gary Pearson, I'm president of the North Platte Area Chamber and Development Corporation, 502 South Dewey. I would just add that as someone who has worked with a number of projects to try to bring to North Platte and try to make them fit into what currently exists, it becomes projects that die a slow death on the vine. Because of the amount of rehabilitation that's needed in the facility because of its age. The previous owner was unwilling to spend the dollars it would take to fix up and make it compatible and presentable to the type of retail entities that a lot of people in the community want to see. And so this kind of a plan is absolutely a perfect fit for what we really need. We've got a lot of really neat things going on in the downtown area. We got an interstate that continues to blossom, but right in the middle of our community, where it's the highest traffic area, we have a mall that's basically been dying for some time now. Online shopping has certainly accelerated that. COVID certainly hurt as well. But we are very blessed to have developers that are willing to put the type of investment these young men are willing to bring to North Platte. And the beauty of the plan, I think it's very important for the community to understand this, is that we talk a lot of times about what the TIF proceeds will generate, what the employment enhancement area might generate, what they need to have to put the type of investment here. And of course, then Quality Growth Fund is a third segment of that. When you look at the 3, Quality Growth Fund is really the only actual resources that come from the city. The other 2 funding sources, tax increment financing and the employment enhancement area, are the entire burden of these developers and the people who are financially backing them. That's all generated as new revenue sources, new potential retail sales that would have a defined fee just within their boundary. But it's all generated as something new, comes from no existing resources. If you look in comparison to the downtown project, between Quality Growth Fund and the investment the city's put in there through utility improvements, the landscaping, the new street system and so forth, to the tune of between $4 and $5 million, all of those were actual resource dollars that came from the city. And it was long overdue, it was needed. And look at the new excitement and energy that's generated because of the investment made. In this case, this is not using actual city resources that exist today. That's all gonna be generated through the efforts of these people, these developers, the investors, and they have the entire burden to recruit the retail entities in there that are willing to accept the fee that will be based as part of it. And in the end, everybody wins. And if people have an issue with any of that, they certainly, it's a free society. You can go shop where you want to shop. But people like those cool new venues. And I think it makes a huge statement. It's an image builder for our community, and I think it'll attract a great deal of interest from people who not only reside here, but do not reside here. If you look at that, what's defined there today, it generates about $160,000 a year in city sales tax of what is occurring there right now. Based on their projections, when this is fully developed, that will generate about $450,000 of city sales tax. So even on the Quality Growth Fund, if that's fully approved at the $1 million request that was recommended now by the Quality Growth Fund Committee, that will be repaid in a very short time. And then the additional sales tax generated will allow the city to do many more things in the community, provide, to pay for some of the services and additional demands that are always on city government to make improvements in the community. So this is a huge benefit for the city. Even if you look at it at a selfish standpoint, the city has much to gain, but has a lot to lose if this doesn't happen, because that will continue to deteriorate. We'll continue to lose some of those name brands that you currently see in that facility. So it's the right time for this to occur in a community, and we've got developers that are willing to put all their effort, energy, and money into it. And I think our community should wholly and fully embrace this as an opportunity we may never see again. If this goes away and it's not approved to its full extent as what's being proposed, the chance of attracting another developer to do that is highly, highly unlikely. So I just wanted to put my 2 cents worth in, because I don't want people to have this perception that lumping it all together and the developer's going to get several $1 million of city resources. No, they're generating it all through their energy, their effort, their development scheme, and finding the people that will come along with them and locate there. So I just wanted to kind of get that on the record so people understand where the resources actually are coming from.
Before you step back, does anyone have any questions for Mr. Pearson?
Gary, I know that anytime you talk about something new, a new program in a community for the first time, there's generally some resistance to it. But talk to us a little bit about the occupation tax, and how that works, and maybe cite some examples of where that's been used successfully throughout other parts of our state.
Be very happy to, and thank you for asking the question. It has been used, obviously. People are familiar, most people are familiar with the Haymarket District in Lincoln, the Old Market in Omaha, what they're planning with the new Crossroads development. The Gretna Mall, outlet malls are a part of it, but it's been used in Grand Island and in Kearney, the Eunice Center, in the convention centers, they have an occupation tax. And in fact, when I was the city manager in Sydney, we had the very first EEA program in the state after the state statute was approved. And in the 5 years we had that program in place, and it was much on a much smaller scale, but to fix a bunch of aging infrastructure that was hampering the business community. And in 5 years, I had one consumer actually come in and complain about what this little thing was on the bottom of his receipt that says EEA, or it says occupation tax. So it largely, after it's in place, it's largely, just not noticed by consumers, or it's an expectation that if you're going to go to a cool new venue, your expectation is you're going to have a new entertainment, you're going to have restaurants, you got shopping venues, and even have a potential place where people can live right in that. That's the new concept and what you're seeing in these other developments. So the way this works different than it is not a sales tax, but it is collected in much the same manner, with the exception that the individual retailer collects it on a monthly basis, remits it to the city directly. It does not go through the Nebraska Department of Revenue. So there's that check and balance system between that and the city. The city then, the cost that they have to collect it and administer it, there's a small fee that they'll get to reimburse the city for that cost. Then they write the check to the bondholder or the developer is financing it through a mechanism that, and this whole concept gives that developer the opportunity to do everything right up front with one full development in a phased situation. But if you try to piecemeal this to get over time without this tool, it's just a death notice to them all. And so I just highly support this, I highly encourage you to do it. And it's gonna give us a fighting chance to get some of those retail entities in here that we hear every day that people have on their wish list. But I'll tell you what will happen if this doesn't happen. None of those will either. But this does give us a fighting chance, and these gentlemen have already been in contact with several through the development scheme, they'll eventually have some artist renderings, which I think will bring it alive to people on what this thing's gonna look like. If we wanna put a little lipstick on the old pig, and put a paint job on it and see what happens, I give you about a 99% assurance of what won't and will, and it's not good. It's kind of what we have and what we'll continue to see, but we need to give the community this opportunity. It's too important for everything else that comes with it, attracting additional business, additional payroll. With the other projects we're working on, we're gonna have an opportunity to bring new employees to the community. This helps everybody's recruitment ability to bring them here. And so I'm pleading with you to make this happen in the community, and it's gotta start with the planning commission.
I have a question. It might be a stupid question. Is that tax a forever tax or so many years? the
It's usually
occupation?
tied to a financial loan or bond.
Okay.
When that gets paid, then it goes away, correct? And that was the case when I personally experienced how this worked. We were able to pay it off much quicker than what we anticipated.
Okay.
And so, the more venues you get in there, the more things that get attracted, obviously, the more revenue it gets generated. It works much the same as a tax increment financing bond. The greater value you create, the quicker it gets paid off. But you gotta, to get the financing, you gotta do the long-term thing, because it takes some of the what-if guessing out of how long it's gonna take to fully develop this and to get all the occupants in place. But a lot of places in Nebraska proved it can work. It's done in Colorado, in a lot of different communities, under a different name. It's done in Kansas, they call it star bonds. I believe, Cassie from our office did a little research on that, and there's 19 different communities of all sizes that have used the star bond concept. And that's what this law in Nebraska was largely patterned after, was the star bond concept in Kansas. So it's a mechanism that's there to use. State government dictates to us how those programs are to operate, and because there is a fee or a tax involved in it, it has to go through a government entity, agency. So that's the rules of engagement that's been set in place, and for us to take advantage of that opportunity as a development tool, this is our shot to do so. And it's a lot more seamless and less complicated than what you really think once you get it in place, and it works pretty well. The first couple months, the city, will have to be going back and forth with retailers and figuring all this out, but with the new accounting software systems that cash registers have, it'll spit the information out and provide it on a monthly basis fairly easily, so.
And in EEA, Gary, that has a cap that can be reached and also has a sunset date, doesn't it, as well?
20 years at max.
One of the two will be reached before it dissolves.
Correct. Yeah, that's a good point also, that if it didn't generate the kind of revenue that they had hoped, it will still sunset at that maximum date.
I don't know if you can address this, Gary, or you, Mr. Works, but what are we thinking in terms of an impact in jobs? Obviously, there's some employment there, but if this goes through the way that you're hoping it to, Mike, what kind of a spike in occupation will we see?
You bet. If, based on, it's basically a 3 to 4 year plan, and if everything comes in as we predict it will, that's about 450 to 650 jobs, depending, of course, on a couple of those big box retailers, what kind of retailer are, right? I mean, let's just say it's a Target or a grocery store. You know, a grocery store is probably going to hire more people than a Target is, although it would be fairly similar. But someplace in that range is what we're predicting over what is there today.
Okay.
Yeah. And just one more answer to your question about, although it's called a bond, the reality is the city does not do a bond. There's no liability on the city's part. We go out and get a loan, basically, and so when the funds come into the city kicks it back out directly to our lender. It goes to pay off our loan to do all the improvements.
And this is new in the city, but this isn't a new concept to the state, obviously, and you've done it in the past too, haven't you, with other
So,
properties?
started in 2007 is when the state statute arose, and we did get it approved in one of the location, which was downtown Lincoln. We then ended up doing a smaller project. We were going to do a large 12-story building, ended up doing just a hotel, so we didn't do the EEA on that, but we did get approved for that there, yes. We do have other developer friends that have done, I take that back, I apologize. We are doing it in downtown Omaha. So we have a downtown Omaha project that is part office, part hotel, and part condos that has an EEA on it, both for the parking and for the hotel room sales. Yeah. I'm not going to charge for parking here. Just
So that EA applies towards the rental of the properties then also, not only the businesses, but the apartments?
It will not apply to the apartments here. I've only seen that ever done once, and that was in the Blackstone District in Omaha. And actually, even then, it was the owners of the building that still paid the tax on the apartments. It's almost all on retail sales. I mean, it acts as an occupation tax on top of a sale. Good question, though.
Any other questions?
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I have a question. Dixie Francis, 2601 West D. I have a question about how that occupation tax will be determined. Who will make that decision? I saw in the paper where they were looking at maybe 1.95%, which sets our sales tax at about 9%. And this isn't Omaha, this isn't Lincoln, this is North Platte. I don't exactly, will it be based on, at what point will you decide to do it?
Ma'am.
Have 5 people that have said that they will be a part of the new mall? And how will that be
Ma'am.
determined?
Dixie?
Ma'am, go ahead.
Judy, go ahead.
You need to face us when you're asking the questions.
You're testifying to us.
So, answer my question. At what point will that decision be made?
Actually, we wouldn't have to answer your questions. You're just giving us your opinion or your
Okay.
facts and so on and so
Then
forth.
that's the point.
but
It would
if-
be interesting to know at what point that extra percentage, almost 2%, will be added to the sales tax of North Platte, Nebraska, which
Okay.
now sits about 7%.
Okay, okay, so just to clarify a little bit, this tax will not be added to the city of North Platte, Nebraska's tax. It is a tax on that area only, just that redevelopment area. So just that parcel of ground is the only place that if you went there to purchase something, it would be on
No.
that piece of ground.
And
The rest of the city of North Platte would not.
stay at 7%.
Pay that.
I understand that. It's just interesting to know at what point will that take place? Is that after they get 5 new occupants? Is that the day when the first occupant takes its position? Sort of, the proof is in the pudding sometimes here.
I'm gonna have to defer to the individuals that are putting the plan together to see if they can answer that question for you. But I just wanted to make clear that it's just on that parcel of ground. Yeah, and it would be part of that contract, that EEA contract or TIF contract when they enter into it as to when all of that starts.
And how much it will be?
Yes,
Okay.
but we'll see if one of them can.
Do you have another question? So if we
No,
bring
that's.
them back up, that they can answer all the questions at one time. Thank you.
Mike Works again. Hi, that's a very good question. We actually have it in the plan that we would have a period of time for adjustment. So that as new tenants were coming on board, the old tenants were moving from the south end to the north end of the mall, just the change was taking place, that no new tax would be added until January 1st of next year. So the plan is to add it as of January 1st of next year on the existing tenants. As new tenants came on board, then they would be subject to the tax immediately upon opening their doors. And we are asking for 1.95%.
And that's in the plan.
That is all
That
in
is
the
in
plan.
the plan.
Absolutely. Yep. Good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the audience? Then I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Madam Chairman, I'd move close the public hearing.
Second.
That was moved by Fudge, seconded by Winder. Roll call vote.
Weber,
Yes.
McGann,
Yes.
Jett,
Yes.
Forbes,
Yes.
Whirl,
Yes.
Davies,
Yes.
Winder,
Yes.
Fudge,
Yes.
and Bain.
Yes.
Okay, the public hearing is closed. Planning Commission can discuss amongst ourselves, but we don't ask for any input from the audience.
One of the things that I would like to reiterate is that if you look at the first page of the staff summary report, it says that the Planning Commission's responsibility is to determine whether this project meets or will meet subdivision and zoning regulations and is an overall fit for the development of the city, and those 4 items that are listed there. So that's what we should be considering when we vote, if we have a motion and when we vote on the motion. Is that right? Okay.
Judy, do you have any reservations about any of these 4 points?
The property as presented is located in an area that's been declared blighted and substandard. That is correct. The property is in conformance with the current City of North Platte plan, comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan does show it as a commercial district. The project meets or will meet subdivision and zoning regulations. That is correct. They are asking to rezone to a PB2, which meets commercial land use comprehensive plan designation. The subdivision, we are taking up on the next agenda item, and so far from what we have seen, yes, it does meet subdivision regulations. The development of the property to its full potentials in the best interest of the city of North Platte and the entire region, yes. And to reiterate that one, I just wanted to read to you guys just this little statement that I received from Chad Nabity. He's the regional planning director in Grand Island, where they do have some of these projects that are going. And I'm not going to read this whole thing, it's like a 3-pager. But he did say that because of the use of TIF and the EEA, we were able to help a developer take a mall that was in abject failure and turn it around into success that draws people from all over the region. The mall was in such bad shape that I didn't even want to drive my 4-wheel drive truck through the parking lot because of the potholes. There was one almost big enough to even swallow my truck. Today, we have a very nice looking property filled with stores, restaurants, and shops that were not in Grand Island before the project began. We have another mall that is going through a very severe downturn right now, and I would not hesitate to take an EEA forward to help redevelop it if the developer owner came with a good plan, especially if it was going to bring people in from out of town to want to spend money in the city of Grand Island. So as far as that last statement goes, I think that is a very good testimony as to the best interest of the city of North Platte and the entire region.
I think what Judy said about the entire region's huge, because one big takeaway I had from the work session last week was not only do we serve the city, but a 2-mile radius of the city, and I think this retail impact is much larger than the 2-mile radius that we serve. I think this has potential impact Valentine, Kansas, much larger than the region that we represent, so I'm excited for this development, personally.
Every now and again, you get one of these you ought to throw the kitchen sink at. Kind of feels like that. So I would move to approve the resolution recommending approval of the North Platte Mall Rehabilitation Redevelopment Plan of the City of North Platte, Nebraska, and approval of related actions.
Second.
Motion by Fudge, second by Winder. Any further discussion? If not, roll call vote.
McGann,
Yes?
Jett,
Yes.
Forbes,
Yes.
Whirl,
Yes.
Davies,
Yes.
Winder,
Yes.
Fudge,
Yes.
Bain,
Yes.
and Weber.
Yes.
Okay, this will go to the city council for possible approval on May 18th with a positive recommendation.
Okay. I think we are ready for item number 5. File number SU 21-002, discuss and consider action on an application by North Platte Mall LLC for final approval of the, and this is final approval, of the Sand Hills Mixed-Use Subdivision located at 1000 South Dewey Street on property described as Tract 1, that portion of lots 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, and 10, Segalin and Weibel subdivision, and a portion of vacated alley between said lots 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, and 10, North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska. Tract 2, all of Segalin and Weibel's subdivision, including vacated South Pine Street, vacated K and L Streets, and vacated alley, North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska. Tract 3, Block 4, South Platte Business Park, North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska. Judy.
Okay, and you should have also received a copy of the review comments. Attached to that is a copy of the final plat. And along with the final plat, there is indication of the easements that are going to be required in order to get water, sewer, and be able to have traffic drive through with shared parking and those sorts of things. The preliminary subdivision application was filed in conjunction with an application for approval of a master plan and rezoning from a B1 to NB2 to a PB2. The preliminary plat showed variances to shared private drives infrastructure improvements through the use of access and utility easements. The final subdivision is being considered at this meeting. City utilities are available to service the lots through either direct access, provided utility easements, or shared agreements. 2 additional easements have been added to service those lots. Also, before the final plat is placed on the city council agenda, Reed Avenue will need to be removed from the subdivision plat. Reed Avenue no longer exists between Dewey and Jeffers Street. Planning staff has no objection to approval of the final subdivision if the master plan was approved. And again, you can see the final plat along with the easements that are there, and with the deletion of Reed Street, it is in conformance with the comp plan and subdivision regulations.
Is this a public hearing or no?
No, but if you want to talk to somebody, you are allowed.
Why is everybody looking at me? I move to approve file number SU 21-002, final approval of Sand Hills mixed-use subdivision if Reed Avenue is removed from the subdivision plat.
Second.
Been moved by Fudge, seconded by Weber. Any discussion? Roll call vote?
Jett,
Yes.
Forbes,
Yes.
Whirl,
Yes.
Davies,
Yes.
Winder,
Yes.
Fudge,
Yes.
Bain,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
and McGann.
Yes.
Okay, motion approved, and that will be on the May 18th agenda also at the city council meeting.
Item number 6, discussion of solar regulations and possible amendments. Judy.
Okay, I handed around the table a copy of a draft solar regulations. The reason these are coming up is I've had a couple inquiries about people doing some commercial, what they call solar energy farms or solar farms. And we just wanted to kind of get ahead of the game a little bit and make sure we get some regulations in that will be a benefit to the city before somebody tries to come in and do these without following any rules or regulations that are needed. So I don't expect you to have a lot of comments here because I just gave these to you, but go ahead, take a look at them. I don't think there is any reason that the city is trying to eliminate people from doing individual, like the solar panels on the roofs or anything like that. So I don't want you to get real concerned about that because we do have some of those already. This is more, and it does include information in here for that, but this is more of targeted for what they would call neighborhood, where somebody would maybe come in and do a 16 lot subdivision and they'd want to put one of those lots as a neighborhood solar so that they could run their neighborhood or at least a portion of their neighborhood off of those solar panels. Or this would be something that would be like a commercial type operation. So just take a look at those, and then the other thing, when you're going through here, these and looking at them, if you get really confused, you can give me a call, I'll try to walk you through some of it. Some of it's really, really technical, and so I may have to implore, Brett Berkland, the city engineer, or one of the guys from over at, the Light and Water Department to help me out with some of the technical verbiage, but, it's just a way to make sure that if something happens, if they put in a solar farm and it's a 20-acre lot, and it would happen to, they would maybe vacate it, how we would get rid of that so that we don't have these useless panels out there that nobody's using, things like that, just to make sure that, you know, it's gonna fit our community. So take a look at that, and then think about when you're going through there, where should we allow the commercial ones? Should we allow, you know, individual commercial ones without conditional uses? Should we allow industrial, you know, some in industrial areas? So kind of think about where you would maybe want to see these types of things going on.
But are they currently allowed anywhere in our zoning rules as they read right now?
It would be really tough to even allow one to come in because there's nothing written that says, yes, it's feasible. But we would probably have a little bit of a fight because somebody would say, well, you don't have it, so it doesn't mean I can't.
Right.
So I think it's best that we kind of get ahead of it and get in there and make it fit what we want instead of saying, yeah, we'll just allow solar energy, do what you want, so.
So it would be up to the city then to define where it would want to, what zones it would permit it
Yep.
in. Got it.
Yep, that's your job.
And only yours.
Great.
You're the lead.
I feel very uncomfortable with that.
No, we will decide and I will give you some advice, but yeah, we will decide where they are. But just take a look at those and if you have any questions, let me know.
And it would also be how big and how many and
Yep,
based on size and.
yep, there's a lot of that information in there. And decommissioning, I really got into the decommissioning section of it. That's probably more because I do the same thing out in the county. And the county was really concerned about decommissioning of wind towers, decommissioning of those commercial solar farms. There is one in the county that's being talked about that's about a section. I mean, it's huge. And I'm supposed to be meeting with them in a couple of weeks to go over where that is outside. So that's kind of what spurred a lot of this, was to just make sure that we're all on top of it. So,
Okay. Any old business? Just nice to have everybody here. Any new business?
Fine, I won't travel anymore.
Any new business?
I don't have anything.
All right, then, meeting is adjourned.
Take them when you can get them.
Absolutely. Especially this year.